Greetings, friends. Over the course of my career in content creation, I have been quite frank and open about the ups and downs of my own mental health, with there admittedly being a few more downs than ups. Because of this, and also because I've consciously chosen to move away from making regular social commentary content, I fear that people will begin to worry that I'm choosing to detach myself from the world. So I want to just give you some idea of where my head is, so you know I'm not trying to do that. The reason I stopped making regular social commentary videos is that when I was doing that, when I was doing what you might consider hard news coverage, particularly about what goes on here in South Africa on a daily basis, I was constantly immersing myself in the negative. And when you do that, if you do it for long enough, it eventually becomes all you can see. And I have more experience of this than most because I've worked not only in traditional news media, but also in emergency services. So there was a period of several years in my early adulthood where I was either working on or knew of all the negative and horrifying events in my community and in my province more generally. But as I say, when you do that, when it is your job to only see the very worst aspects of human nature, it makes you paranoid and angry, even when you don't consciously realize it. And that is basically the crux of this video. I have come to understand that anger without an avenue for proper resolution is a poison. For example, I could be angry all day, every day, about my disability, and many would say justifiably so. But here's the thing. It's not fair that I was born a quadriplegic. It's not fair that many of the things normal people take for granted have been denied to me my entire life. Is that cause for anger? Yes. Will me being angry about that change anything? No. So, in essence, I could be angry, but all that's going to do is poison me, because anger without any way of safely or positively channeling it destroys the soul. That's the same reason why I no longer allow myself to get riled up by the absurd levels of corruption in South Africa. Yes, our politicians are ludicrously criminal, and they flaunt it on a daily basis. And the reality is, nothing is likely to happen to them in this lifetime. Very few of them will ever see any real punishment for their misdeeds. That, again, is reason enough to be angry. But basically, I'm a peasant. My anger will do nothing to bring them to justice. So while I can condemn their behavior and be disgusted by it, allowing myself to dwell on that negative achieves nothing of any value. I have had a very limited and essentially a very small life in many ways. But there are many things for which I can and should be thankful. Even in my kind of closeted and small world, I have been able to make a positive impact on the lives of people across the planet. And that could only have been possible given the fact of when I was born and the technology which is now available to me. So I'm thankful to be able to serve as a positive influence on the lives of others, even in some small and largely ephemeral way. I think that essentially, if I were to be angry all the time, whether or not my anger is justified, that would lead inevitably to a wasted life. I'll be real with you. When I look into the likely future of South Africa, and more specifically, where my own life may end up, I don't see a positive outcome. I think that it's highly likely that within my lifetime, South Africa as I know it may completely collapse. By which I mean there will still be a place on world maps known as South Africa, but the country itself may very well descend into a scenario very much akin to Mad Max, only this time it won't be a movie. If and when that does happen, there will be very little I can do to stop or escape it. So rather than waste my time now being angry while things are still relatively livable, my goal is to do as much good in the world as I possibly can, my limitations notwithstanding. And that's basically the message I wanted to give you today, because in the end, I think that's all we can do. Sure, you can spend your life worrying about all the bad things that may befall you, or you can use that energy doing good. Either way, all of us are going to die, so that's the choice we have. Look after yourselves, and for now, farewell.